Hey everybody, Jason here from iAnimate. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you're all doing fantastic. In this week's snippet, we're going to talk about character walks to music. So there was this commercial that came out of London in 1987, and it was the name of the ad is Kiora, and it was an orange drink, and it really inspired me. I thought that was a really fun ad, and basically it had like a walk cycle, right, to a very funky kind of rhythm. And the animator that did it, wasn't able to just use a straight walk cycle. He had to, because if he did, he would lose beat, right? So what he had to do was do a little bit of a spin step and then come back down into the next portion of the walk, right, to stay in beat, right? So let's watch the commercial and I'll show you what I mean.
Fedora, Kiara.
Kiora?
It's too orangey for clothes. It's just for me and my dog.
I'll be your dog. I'll be your dog. Fedora. Kiora. Boogie, boogie, doogie, doogie. Fedora. Doogie, doogie, boogie, boogie. Kiora. Arumba. Fedora. We all adore Kiora.
Awesome. Right. So when I was actually watching that ad, I was like, in all the movies that I've actually worked on, I've never had the chance to actually animate a walk cycle that had like a kind of a spin step. Like the Pink Panther used to do this sort of like, walk, and then he would do this little skip step as well. It wasn't like a full on treadmill in the air kind of thing, but I wanted to try and do something to a rhythm, right? So when I'm trying to work out a walk to a rhythm, I usually bring it into Flipbook. I usually bring the sound file into my sound area right here, close to my drawings, and I start to draw out my walk poses, right? Now, if I'm just doing a normal walk, it would usually be about 12 frames per step, right? So march time, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that kind of a speed, right? So it's just kind of going from A to B. But when you're doing it to a rhythm, like especially something that has like sort of a groove to it, and I've got a groove in here that I sort of repeat, like, so it's like 4 measures, if you will, to the groove, and then I repeat it. And then what I try to do is try to figure out what that timing would be. So because the walk would be a lot slower, then I can do a little bit more to the walk, right? So in here, I start to incorporate sort of like a double bounce type thing to the walk, right? So let's go through our poses here. So we've got our contact, and then to hit the actual rhythm, like I've got to hit that down, like that down is on the down beat, right? And then I come up to the pass position, and then I come down to the overshoot, right? So it would be basically an undershoot and then come back up to the contact, right? So this is the rhythm that I'm going to be trying to do. So I've got like this kind of double bounce type going on. And then I was like, okay, now there's this little kind of groove in the music where it kind of comes up and then it comes back down to repeat. And this is where I want to do that little spin step. So I'm trying to figure out, like, in my head where that will be, put it on paper, and then see how it actually feels. Because I was, in theory, I was thinking, oh yeah, so I could probably just do this and keep it fairly regular. But until I start to see it on paper in sync to the music, then I don't really know, right, for sure. Like, so for me, it's practical to do it like out in Flipbook, so I can actually figure out the actual posing and the timing of the poses, right? So here's the rhythm. And then what I was figuring out is when I take off, right? So I take off from the right foot here, right? So his right foot's down, and then it springs up, and I basically come back down to the right foot again, right? So it's basically taking off from the right foot, and then I come back down to the right foot. And then the next one will be out of sync, right? So now, like, I'll take off from the left foot, do the spin, and come back down to the left foot, right? To keep them in rhythm, right? And over here, this is taken off from the left foot. I do that little spin, And now with this in mind, now I've got these drawings in my head and this sort of timing in mind, then I'll shoot some live action reference to see exactly what's going to go on with the feet. Now, obviously, like I'm not a cartoon character, but I can sort of see what, how I could actually make it like more grounded in reality and then caricature it from there, right? So for me, planning is the key, right? So when I'm doing these drawings, I'm doing them very, very quickly, just so I don't get possessive over each one, right? And then I can figure out like different timings or different posing, that way I can start to figure out before I get into CG and before I do live action reference. So I've got like the sort of like the rhythm in my head, if you will. All right. So big tip for today is plan out your shots. Now, if you don't draw, just try it with stick figures even. Like don't think that you have to be a full-on 2D animator to do this kind of planning. Like just try and figure it out with just stick figures even, because once you start seeing like the images playing to the actual music or to the rhythm or to the soundtrack that you're trying to animate an acting shot to, then you can start to play around. You can start to ground this acting into your head. All right. All the best, you guys. Take care. See you next week.